Hello everyone. Today, another new product from the company Phonefix arrived. This is a portable welding machine for welding 18650 batteries and also for welding any other batteries by spot welding. Inside the box, we have a box with a presentable looking product itself. The welding machine itself is shown here. They write that it is a portable welding machine. It is characterized by the fact that there are 2 lithium batteries on board, with a total capacity of 6,700 mAh. On the back cover they write that it gives a current of up to 65 amperes at the time of welding. Well, let's try to open the box. We are greeted by instructions. Nickel tape is included. You can immediately weld batteries with this tape. There is also a standard Type-C charging cable. The welding machine itself is included in the box for some reason. Most likely, when they sealed it at the factory, they accidentally turned it on, so he arrived in the switched-on form. There are also 2 welding cables, a silicone braid cable. The length is quite short. It would be possible to make them longer for greater convenience. They have copper tips that are pressed inside the cable. If desired, they can be changed. Well, let's get the device itself. There is nothing else inside the box. There is a piece of paper with instructions on top. The instructions are completely in English. There is not even Chinese, which is very strange. Usually they like to do it in Chinese English, and it would be best to add Russian, of course. Here is a full description of how everything turns on, works. The characteristics, precautions and so on are also indicated. Fortunately, there is me, who will now tell you how it all works, how everything is configured. The device itself is completely aluminum body, painted black. There is one button on the end and a Type-C charging port. On the other hand, there is nothing, and on the front part we have 2 buttons. The upper button regulates the pulse power, how many amperes it will give out. The button on the end is used for manual mode. I also forgot to show, the kit includes a file for stripping welding wires. It rolled up, it was not visible. The wires themselves are installed in the device without any clamps, they are simply inserted tightly. All this is held securely enough. And no matter how we touch them, they won't fall out. Let's go back to setting up the device. As I said, the upper scale is the power. We choose the pulse power, how many amperes will give the welding moment. The lower scale shows the charge level. These are blue diodes, how much charge the battery currently has built in. And next to the button switches 2 yellow diodes. The first position is manual mode, that is, we can manually cook by pressing the button from the end. The second mode is automatic welding, that is, the button is no longer used here, everything is done by automation. That is, this lower button turns on automatic or manual mode. Now we have put it in automatic mode and we will try at a minimum current. One diode is lit. Weld the nickel tape from the kit to the battery 18650. It is enough to install our welding wires in place and welding takes place. In the first position, we see that nothing has boiled, that is, it has only caught on at half the power and try to boil half the power. Here we can already see that the welding is going much better. The tape already lends itself to a more serious load when torn off. We will set the power to full and already at maximum power we will try to boil. When we put the second contact, the delay goes to 0.8 of a second and then the device gives out a welding pulse. At maximum power, the tape has already been well welded to the battery 18650 and we already know that such icons should be cooked at maximum power. Let's look at this process up close. As soon as we install the second welding wire, there is a small delay of 0.8 of a second and a welding pulse is given, as I said earlier. At the same time, we can notice no sparks flying, everything is pretty safe and holds very securely. Now let's try to boil the battery from the phone. The principle here is exactly the same. We take a nickel tape, put it on the battery contact and touch the second welding wire tightly and welding takes place. Here we can see that the broth was very good, even the table was singed a little. The power can be reduced here, but less, about half. This will be quite enough. Everything is held very securely. Let me remind you that who has not tried such batteries yet, it is impossible to get the conclusions from them with a soldering iron. That is, metal is used there, which absolutely will not appear even with the use of acid for soldering aluminum. I've tried it 100 times, nothing comes out, all the soldering falls off, nothing holds. Let's try to weld a copper stranded wire directly to the battery. Here we can see, there is a bright flash and the wire starts to burn. This is due to the fact that the copper cores in this wire are very thin and at the moment of the pulse they simply burn out. Unfortunately, we will not be able to solder the wire directly to the battery terminal. That is, here I try to grab it, but you see the wire burned off, that is, the pulse burns it. But there is another life hack. You can take copper foil and copper foil can be easily welded with such a welder, even to a nickel tape, even directly to the battery contacts. We see that the copper is quietly boiled, nothing has burned through, there are no holes, while everything is securely held and our copper foil does not fall off. And already copper foil can be easily soldered, tinned, do whatever you want. Let's try to disassemble the device, see what is inside. Unscrew the screws from the front cover and also the 4 screws of the back cover. Inside we can see the control board, and further down we can notice two polymer battery plates. We can also see the buzzer squeaker. Unscrew the back cover. The batteries themselves are already here. Everything is filled in tightly with sealant, and in order to extract it all, we have such metal insert plates on the sides that are very difficult to pull out. The analysis here is very complicated, since on the one hand we have plates that are inserted into the back, they are wider. Also inside there are even thinner plates that are inserted in front. The board absolutely does not want to climb out. In general, I carefully sorted it all out, for about an hour. I was very worried that I would pierce the batteries with a screwdriver. In general, I do not advise disassembling this device. There is a great risk of damaging both the board itself and the batteries. All this can safely catch fire and burst. At best, of course, it will just burn there. Behind the scenes, after much agony, I finally pulled the whole thing out. We can see that just these two plates, they are of different thickness, some are inserted from the back, others from the front. In general, everything is complicated, but nevertheless I still got to the batteries. We see an assembly of two ACOMs that are bolted on. It is very strange, by the way, that they are not welded. There was no second welder in sight. We decided to tighten it with bolts. We have a temperature sensor installed between the shafts, which monitors the temperature of the batteries, and also see power tracks, power MOSFET here. The board is quite easy to manage, there are not many elements here. The body itself is solid. What prevented them from making it collapsible into two parts, I do not know. It would have been much easier. In general, the device is not particularly serviced. If you really want to try hard, you can disassemble and eventually replace the batteries if they get tired. Behind the scenes, again, I collected it all. I suffered for a long time, because I could not insert the board into its place. The buttons are very hard to get into the seats. All this is still fixed by such plates. The very idea of a battery-powered welding machine is very cool. That is, you are not tied to an outlet, you can use it, cook in any conditions, take it with you, I don't know, home, on departure, somewhere else. You don't need various carriers, extension cords, it's enough to charge the batteries and cook quietly. That is a very portable, convenient thing. Again, the welder produces high currents at the time of welding. If it worked from the mains, the power supply would be larger than the welding machine itself, so this idea with ACOMs is just perfect. Here you can see that I have scratched all the buttons, damaged them while putting them in place. In general, in terms of analysis and maintenance, the device is not very good. Welding wires are not marked in any way. Where is a plus, where is a minus, there is no difference. And the wires themselves, of course, would like to be twice as authentic. And now let's look at the welding process under a microscope. Here I weld copper foil. The power of the device is set by half. That is, practically nothing is cooked at the minimum power. It is cooked mainly from half to maximum. Here I added power to the maximum and we calmly burned a hole, so I lowered the power to the very minimum and it can be seen from the welding spot that it won't really boil on minimorks. Thank you all for watching. Bye.